They're simply asking guys to play basketball. What are you doing? What are you saying? Why do we need a tournament to make these guys compete when they are compensated beyond their wildest dreams to simply compete? Being new isn't the reason it's easy to mock. No more guaranteed contracts. You're paid by the win. Sir Charles, you know we love Sir Charles. You know Sir Charles can do absolutely no wrong in our book. Let me give you a flashback. A year ago, all of a sudden they said the Pacers are in the final for the NBA Cup, and everybody in Indy went, that's great. What's the NBA Cup? They decorate the court. They make it a big deal. I don't understand it, but apparently the NBA needs the NBA Cup to get players early in the season to compete. Explain that one to me. Charles Barkley, he's on my side. Now, look, you got to understand what Charles is saying. I've kind of said since I realized there was an NBA Cup. And did you know, I think this happened. I could be wrong. I think the Knicks won the NBA Cup yesterday. I don't know what that means. But hang a banner, have a parade, dump beer over your head, chug champagne, the NBA Cup. Here's Barkley. The NBA is pissed at Barkley. I saw yesterday Adam Silver said, well, we're really happy with NBC's coverage, a little frustrated with others. Well, hang on here. Barkley is going to piss you off, Adam Silver. He's pissing you off because his most recent take is that he flat out called the NBA Cup embarrassing. Now, embarrassing wasn't the word that I thought. Nondescript, maybe, made up. Crazy, what? Those are words, including what? But Barkley saying embarrassing makes a little sense. Adam Silver, let's go back. Adam Silver cooked up the NBA Cup, stuck it in Vegas, hoped it would juice the regular season for fans and players. Now think about that just for a second. Guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're so ridiculous, they're so inept that you got to make up a cup. A cup. My cup has lips on it because last night I dumped a bunch of chocolate chips in it and drank chocolate chips. Really good idea, by the way. It doesn't get on your hands, but I digress. The cup, people, the cup. We're playing for the cup. All right, Barkley stopped by Tom Tolbert's YouTube show. I like Tom Tolbert, and the two dove into the in-season tournament. That's what this is. It's an in-season NBA tournament because NBA players being paid hundreds of millions of dollars don't want to play hard every night, and fans get bored with morons. Barkley isn't a fan of dangling prize money to get players to care about regular season games they're already compensated for. They are already paid 60 mil, in some cases 20 mil, 10 mil. Bad players in the NBA make 3 or 4 mil. Mediocre players make more than the CEO of Eli Lilly, for crying out loud. And you got to pay them more for a cup because they won't play. It's unbelievable. Here's Barkley.
Number one, I think the cup thing is somewhat embarrassing. What I mean by that is I'm disappointed in my players that we're having, number one, God bless them for making money, okay? I'm disappointed that we have to make an in-season tournament to make these guys more money so they won't do load management.
Yeah.
So these guys, God bless them, making a lot of money. I never begrudged them because I didn't make it what they're making, but I made a great living. But to have to pay these guys extra money to make them play other games, they should play basketball because they're well compensated to play basketball. To do an in-season tournament to make them extra money, come on, man, that's a little bit ridiculous.
I'll even add to it, it's typical. It's literally typical. I used to say this as a coach. You know, they wanted to put bonuses in contracts. Hey, here's a bonus for graduating players. Here's a bonus for making the NCAA tournament. Here's a bonus for getting to the second round. I always thought to myself, what am I paid for? Like, that's what I'm paid for. Why do I need a bonus? Why should I get a bonus for, and I never made the NCAA tournament, came close 3 different times, but in the MAC, it ain't that easy. But look, Why would I get a bonus for that? Look, if you want to generate income, if you want to generate things, fine. But paying these guys extra, dangling a carrot out there in the middle, and does it really bring more interest? I got a lot of friends that are season ticket holders of the Pacers, and they're like, yeah, this whole thing seems stupid. All right. Brandon Contes of Awful Announcing says, it's easy to mock the NBA Cup because it's still new and lacks the meaning or respect that Silver and the league hopes it eventually generates. No, that's true. But being new isn't the reason it's easy to mock. It's easy to mock because your product is so lame, the players are so disinterested in doing what they're paid to do that you've got to generate fake interest. There is never a time in American society where we're going to go, oh man, this regular season tournament, this in-season tournament is interesting. It's just not how we're built. That's why it's easy to mock. I get it. You're trying to reinvent the wheel. I don't blame Adam Silver for doing something, anything to make this more interesting. I don't. Hell, Major League Baseball's version of it, frankly, was interleague play. Interleague play, Yankees, Mets, White Sox, Cubs, generates interest. But that's not the same thing. When you try to sell us on a championship and you move it to a neutral site to sell it as a tournament, frankly, we're going to scoff at it. But these quarterfinal, semifinal, and championship games in Vegas undoubtedly generate more interest and competition than a regular season game in December typically does. Hold on. That's what Barkley's saying. Barkley's saying, why do we need a tournament to make these guys compete when they are compensated beyond their wildest dreams to simply compete? No one's asking these guys to dig a ditch. No one's asking these guys to show up at a steel mill. No one's asking these guys to walk down a dark alley where there may be killers there or chase a bad guy. They're simply asking guys who make $5, $6, $7 million a month, well, $5 mostly, a month, to play basketball, compete at it, and be adults, which, if you watch former players like Teague, Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, they're not adults. They're children. They talk about being high all the time and playing, getting mad when a coach says something to them. These are children making a lot of money. So I guess Silver figured that out and said, hey, look, we must treat them like children. We must dangle things in front of them. Gimme, 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 like a little kid at Christmas. That's this next phrase. Whether it's a potential $500,000 payout or the title of NBA Cup champion that has players playing a little harder, doesn't really matter. When players and fans care about games in December, that's a good thing for the NBA. Really? All right. Well, then do this. How about this? You really want to make this good? Make every series a cup and make every series money goes to the winner. No more guaranteed contracts. You want to make the NBA really good? No more guaranteed contracts. You're paid by the win. 10,000, 100,000 per win. That'd be fun. That's where it should go because that's what this is. In the regular season, on top of the money you are already being ridiculously paid for. Think about that. Think about the lack of pride. If you want to say, we got a cup, we're playing for the cup, and not compensate people, fine. They wouldn't play harder. I don't think anybody played any harder. I don't think anybody cared anymore. I bet if you ask these players, they would laugh. Yeah, man, I like the $500K. But Barkley isn't wrong. Barkley's 100% right. You can couch it however you want. But it is absurd that you've got to give these players incentive in December to play basketball as hard as they can. Like, hey, everybody's got a job to do. Most of us, and my job's the easiest job in America, the most fun job in America. But most of us work year-round. Most of us, teachers excluded, but guess what? Teachers show up every damn day My dad used to show up at 6 o'clock. Bell was 7:10, and get home whenever. No, just stop it every day. My uncle in the mill, cousin fireman, another cousin cop. Don't even start. And these guys can't play basketball without having incentive. All you got to do is listen to these podcasts on these clowns talking about what jackasses they were as NBA players and what jackasses are playing now. And it sucks. It does. When you read it. When you watch it, I like the NBA. But when you read it, it's horse shit. And Barkley ain't wrong. This episode's brought to you by Prize Picks. Look, it's a holiday season, best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchup, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. Right now, it's the greatest time of year. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, that's big. What to watch. There's only one place where it feels good to be right, and that's Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. I love how straightforward Prize Picks is. I love how I don't have to spend a lot of time trying to calculate my payouts. Prize Picks makes it easy with their payout multipliers, whether it's just simple 3 times or the big one, 2,000 times. Prize Picks makes it easy to understand how much I can win. Join millions of users, including me and my buddies that live in Georgia, where they don't have online gambling. You can do it in Georgia. You can play fantasy. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. That's what this is. That's why you play it in Georgia. This week, there's a special max discount promotion live on the board right now. Anthony Joshua has been discounted to only needed to go more than 0.5 total punches landed in his boxing match against Jake Paul. Add another player to your lineup. If your lineup hits, you cash in. The fight is Friday, the 19th. Main card begins 8 p.m. Download the Prize Pick app today. Use code DAKICH. Get 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Dakich. Get 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. We have a winner. What's the winner? What's the category? I'll tell you, worst take of 2025. And it comes from our colleague, Joel Klatt. Joel just won, I believe, the worst take of the year. I don't even understand it. It's so bad. The man just called March Madness a joke. Say what? What? Let's hear from Joel Klatt.
How important is it for Tulane or James Madison to be competitive this weekend? Is it sort of the future of an auto bid for the G5 at stake for them to look the part this weekend?
I don't think that it matters. It would help in the sentiment, the public sentiment, but these things are going to be, it will be determined by finances and litigation. And the reason the group of 5 is included in this playoff is to avoid antitrust litigation. That's it, guys. We're not looking for a Cinderella. Nobody cares in football about James Madison or the equivalent of George Mason going. Didn't George Mason go to the Final Four or something like that? Nobody cares in football about that. We don't want Cinderellas. We want the best teams playing each other at the end. In fact, hot take. I mean, the hottest of all takes that I've ever had in my entire life. The NCAA basketball tournament is a joke. It's the dumbest tournament and the least fair tournament in all of sports. We go and we put teams at odd times on neutral sites in a 1-game affair. That doesn't crown a true champion. We're not doing anything that tells us who's the best team over the course of the entire season. If anything, the NCAA basketball tournament should act exactly like the old World Cup, which we should have groups. They should all get guaranteed 3 games, and they should be played at the higher seeds arena so that those seeds are rewarded for a quality game. And that way we don't just get to see Kentucky one and done against George Mason or something like that. Well, that's stupid.
Yeah, what's stupid about it? I mean, you make the tournament, you get seeded based on how you play during the season. I mean, everybody, I guess, every sport would like 3 out of 5, but to call the NCAA a tournament an unfair tournament, I would argue that 98% of the time the right team wins. I would argue that damn near 100% of the time the right team wins, the best team wins. I mean, you don't go through the NCAA tournament and luck your way into a championship. I mean, if the idea, as Joe Klatt says, is to crown the best team, we do it every year. I mean, I can go through every single year. The one and done, he doesn't understand, because one and done in college basketball is oftentimes the best champ or the best team in college basketball. I mean, the dudes that played in Kentucky, at Kentucky, were the best team until, guess what? They got beat by a better team, and that team was Wisconsin. No, look, I understand what Joe Klatt is saying. I understand that he's saying, look, it is tough because it is a one and done. But isn't that what 90% of tournaments are? That's what the college football tournament is. The college football tournament is simply, hey, it's one and done. And I think he's right when he talks about, hey, nobody really cares about George Mason. He's right. He is. I've always said this. We like to see George Mason beat Duke, but then we really want to see Duke play Michigan State in the second round, not George Mason. But he's totally and could not be more wrong about it not being a fair tournament in terms of crowning a champion. They crown every single year. Every year. The champion. There's no flukes winning the NCAA tournament. There aren't. I mean, I can go back. What year? I'm looking at it right now. What year you want to go back? 67, UCLA for 6-7 years. Anybody that watched David Thompson that broke that streak? Indiana. I mean, there is not a single fluke in here. None. Going back to the 90s, UNLV, won by 30. Duke, Carolina's team, unbelievable. Nolan Richards' team. There isn't you are not a fluke and win the NCAA tournament. You know, Baylor is a name not recognized. Unbelievable team. North Carolina State, back in the day, people said it was a fluke, had 4 pros on it. No, he's wrong. He couldn't be more wrong. See, the NCAA tournament crowns the best champion. You make the Final Four, great, but they don't win the title. So that's wrong. The idea of putting people in pods, if you want everything to be fair, everything should go in a pod. Nothing should be a one and done. Hell, if football were going to do it right, you should go in a pod. I mean, who's to say the best team wins in football? I don't know. Maybe a kid misses a field goal like Ohio State did a few years ago. I don't know. Maybe a guy throws an interception. Maybe a guy gets a tip ball. That's sports. The NCAA tournament is anything but a joke in terms of crowning its champion. Anybody that watched basketball last year understood Florida was the best team. Year before that, last 2 years, no question, Connecticut was. Kansas dominant the year before that. And what an unbelievable team Baylor had. I could go back farther. But no, Klatt's wrong. If you want to go by who wins a particular game in a tournament, sure. But that's what makes the tournament great, not a joke. Winning a game or even getting to a Final Four doesn't crown a champion. The NCAA has always, and go back, it's right here. It's in your phone, Wikipedia, crowned the best team. Again, I go back to North Carolina. Now we got to go back to 1983 for this, which for those of you that are my age doesn't seem that long. But for those of you, excuse me, that are younger, seems like forever ago, and I get it. But North Carolina State had 4 guys that played in the NBA. Maybe 5 if I go to their bench. That's no fluke. No. Joe Klatt is absolutely wrong here. I get what he's saying. Look, if we just take it with James Madison, they obviously are in the tournament because of antitrust lawsuits, which the NCAA or colleges never win. But I personally would much rather, not you, I would much rather see James Madison beat Texas Tech. Because I don't care about Texas Tech. Texas Tech has no chance to win a national championship, but I'd rather see James Madison win that. I think that would make this tournament more interesting. In fact, I think it would make this tournament more legit because right now college football is an illegitimate tournament. They put 2 teams in just because. Why is James Madison in there? Why is Tulane in there? Well, as Klatt says, just because. litigation. NCAA doesn't do that. You get in your tournament from the MAC, from the Missouri Valley, from the Ivy League. I can go 30 different conferences by winning your way in. That's legitimate. You could argue with me that Temple and James Madison won enough to get in, but they didn't win their way in. They lawsuited their way in. And everybody knows this. So if you want to go what is a joke, if you want to go what is illegitimate, that tournament that we're getting ready, that I'm fired up to watch, is the most illegitimate tournament out there because teams are in it, as Klatt said, because of legal action, not performance. Period. No. I like both tournaments. I got no problem. I'm sorry, James Madison plays Oregon. My bad. Down here, Tulane, who the hell plays Texas Tech? I would love to see James Madison beat Oregon. In fact, I would like to see James Madison beat Oregon to legitimize against what I just said, that James Madison shouldn't be in a tournament, neither should Tulane. But it ain't going to happen. Basketball, it can happen. See, that makes it more fun. That makes it more interesting. That makes it less of a joke. No, Joe, the joke is when you put teams in a tournament that didn't win their way in there and are there only because of litigation. As you said, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the joke. But I don't think either are jokes. I don't. I think both are great. Davey, you got anything to add? Is there anything you'd like to add to what I just said?
I'm with you, Dan. The one thing I would say, I thought last year's March Madness was incredible. When you look at the Final Four, you had all 4 1 seeds, and those were some of the best games I'd ever seen.
Go.
I'm with you. I like to see that first round upset, but by the time the Sweet 16 rolls around, it's like, give me the best teams, just because I don't want to watch. A couple of years ago, listen, it was a great story, but seeing St. Peter's eventually get blown out by 20 points after a cool run, but it's like, for those final games, I want the best teams available.
Yeah, that's what I've always said. I like the upsets, but I want to see the best play the best. And 90% of the time, that's what you get in the NCAA tournament. But nobody is there because of litigation. This is the way the tournament has grown. It started out very small. When I was in college, it went from 48 to 64, and then it went to 65, now 68. And it's grown because of the interest. It's grown because of the money. But it hasn't added teams because of ongoing litigation or the fear of lawsuits, which is what the college football. Look, I'm not arguing. I guess I am, Davey. I'm not trying to argue one against the other because I love both tournaments.
Yeah,
I do. I can't wait for Friday to come and we got Oklahoma and we got Alabama. I can't wait when the NCAA or even college, what do they call it, Champions Week or a championship week. I love that. I like tournaments, but to call one a joke is ridiculous because the best teams every single time have emerged and won the championship, period.
On the football side, Dan, it's one of those things, too, where I knew this was going to be a problem, but each year I feel like they're going to correct it because just to get everybody on board, you had to get these groups, the group of 5 teams involved, and so eventually they'll phase them out because we will see they don't actually belong on this scale or on this stage.
And so I agree. I disagree. I agree with Joel. They're in there for reasons other than performance. But I also disagree with Joel because I go with the public perception. The public perception, if James Madison, if Tulane win a game, I don't know. If they play, Boise played really well last year. If they would win a game, I think the public perception would be, interesting. Makes the tournament better, at least in the first round. Yeah. Makes it more interesting because, frankly, I'm not going to watch either Tulane or James Madison unless it's a close game down the stretch, second half. I watch big brands, Oklahoma, Alabama, Davey. My fat ass is going to be watching. It is. But the other one, hey, if it's tight in the fourth quarter, my fat ass will be watching but I'm not lining up my day to watch Tulane. I'm not lining up my day to watch James Madison. I'm just not. That's not what I do. Same thing with basketball. I didn't start out watching Purdue and St. Peter's or Kentucky St. Peter's. I didn't start watching that. And then all of a sudden, wait a second, second half, hold on here. Hold on. Times, Fox News, CNN, you might be disappointed in this one. Coach Pearl and I are going to talk some ball this time and not give you a half hour worth of content. He's on all kind of games. But I want to get into something first, Coach. You study basketball. You're a historian. I feel like I've studied it my whole life. Joel Klatt made a comment. Okay, the NCAA tournament, he says a joke. They don't crown a real champion. Fine, the joke part, whatever. I went back and looked at this, and no flukes that I have seen, including North Carolina State in 1983. They had 4 pros. People don't understand. Wittenberg was a pro. Lowe was a pro. Bailey was a pro. Cozell McQueen was a pro. They had 4 pros on that team. You don't win the NCAA tournament as a fluke. Your team was great, but Kyle Guy hit 3 free throws. You don't do that. So to say it doesn't crown a champion, a true champion, is bullshit because there's no flukes winning this thing.
No, it's complete bullshit. And you know what's interesting, Dan? One of the things I like to ask people is, okay, which championship matters more to you? Like the Big Ten championship or the Big Ten tournament championship? Because there was a time back when you were playing, there wasn't even a Big Ten tournament.
Right.
And the regular season champ, the one that grinded, the one that, lasted 2-3 months of all the ups and downs, to me, that was always a champion. But the problem is, nobody's really paying attention to college basketball till March, and it's all about March Madness, and it's a tournament sport, and to the victor go the spoils. So I kind of like the fact that there's a regular season champ and there's a tournament champ, and of course there is nothing like the Final Four. Nobody in sports, I think, has been able to master what the NCAA and what March Madness is. And what it still is. Like, we got all kinds of stuff off the court that is challenging. We get that. You know what? You get around a March, that tournament's as good as there is anywhere in sports.
Yeah, and, the idea that, okay, a Cinderella pops up, there's no question. Fine. But Klatt's point was this is an unfair, again, you can go down the list, Coach, and maybe, your team was great. Had your team beaten Virginia and won the championship, best team in the country. You got to be the best team in the country. It is Final Fours. Some teams have gotten in, but you get in. You don't get in through litigation like James Madison and Tulane do. You get in, whether it's from the MAC, the Missouri Valley, the Horizon, by winning your way in, and that makes it great.
It does. And yes, Butler earned their way in and got to the Final Four. Haywood makes that basket. They're playing for a championship. So, there's no question. There have been some great Cinderella stories. Is it a better story to talk about the fact that it's maybe more chalk now than ever? That maybe the final like they talked about the week 6 poll, those 12 teams, one of those 12 teams are going to be national champion. And for the last, I don't know how many, 20 years, that's been the group. Maybe with NIL and all the things that we got going on, the rich are getting richer. And so maybe there's a fewer teams to make it. Last year, 4 number ones. Last year, the 4 best teams in college basketball. And if Florida doesn't have 3 pro guards, 3 NBA guards, including the best player in Florida, Walter Clayton, plus the front line of those 5 guys that are still back for Florida right now, Auburn may have cut down the nets and been a national championship, because I think we could have beaten Duke in a rematch, and I think we could have beat Houston for the second time. So no, sorry, this is whoever wins this sucker is going to be the champion.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. I want to get into a couple of things going on. You know better than most. You played against them for years. Kentucky. What do you think so far of the job Mark Pope has done? Did they make a step? Did they take a major step with their second half beatdown of IU? And where do you see Kentucky in terms of talent moving forward through not only through the SEC but the aforementioned NCAA tournament? Where do you see Kentucky?
Yeah, the door is absolutely still open. It is absolutely still, it's not cracked. The door's open, and Kentucky can knock the thing down. This is a real pivot point for Kentucky right now. In my mind, Dan, without Diabate, without the kid that transferred from Alabama, He is a freak athlete. He's a tough, physical, hard-nosed player, and that's the one thing they were lacking on the front line. You know, I think you're asking two different questions. Can we be critical of Kentucky's roster? Can we be critical of their talent? Did they spend the money the right way? Do the pieces fit? Yes, I think you can absolutely debate that and offer some criticism. They've got some guys that have been injured. There's no question, but there is plenty of talent there. But right now, it doesn't fit. But with Diabate coming back and the point guard coming back, right, and the SEC being not what it was a year ago, the SEC is really good. But you tell me if there is a Final Four team in the SEC right now, and I'd say no. There's about 6 to 8 teams that I would say right now are ahead of the best that the SEC has. That means Kentucky is going to be playing in a league where everybody's got flaws. And I think Mark Pope has got to get his team to be really fired up about that. The game Saturday in Atlanta against St. John's, it's another important game for both teams. It's important for St. John's because they're in the Big East, and with the exception of UConn, there's nobody in that league that's going to be able to boost St. John's resume. Whereas if Kentucky can go through the grind of the SEC and they can become a league champion, which they're capable of doing, even though they've not shown it and they've not played hard and they've not played together and they got problems, I still think the door's open for Kentucky.
I want to get into league since you brought that up. It's kind of odd. Most coaches downplay great success. Dusty May didn't when he was on our show. Dusty May, basically, I told him, I go, look, I've never seen a team whoop ass like they've whooped really good teams' ass. And I said, Dusty, I know I speak out of my ass sometimes, but that's the best performances I think I've ever seen in college basketball. And he didn't shy away from that, Bruce. I love the top of the Big Ten. You mentioned the Big East. You know, Butler got their brains beat out last night. You mentioned the SEC. Where are you at with different conferences, including what Michigan's doing in the Big Ten?
Well, let's just go at the Big Ten first. I agree with you completely, and I can't stand listening to analysts. And I guess I'm not one of them. I'm now an analyst. I'm no longer a coach.
No, you're an entertainer.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to keep it 100. I don't know why they want to discount what happens in November or what happens in the non-conference. They want to discount it. Well, it's a long season. It's all about conference play. No, you are building your resume right now. Those 1 and 2 seeds right now, those are going to come from the teams that took care of their business early in the year. And guess what? They've got the best chances to advance in the NCAA tournament because of seeding. This stuff matters right now a lot, and it matters by every conference. Look, I root for the SEC when I was coaching the SEC and the non-conference. I know it's hard, and I know when you were in the Big Ten, it was hard for you to root for Purdue or hard to root for Michigan and Bill Frieder. It was hard. But guess what? The better the conference did in the non-conference, the better Indiana did because your seeding would be higher. All ships rise. And so Michigan's the best team in the country. They're the best team, I think, I agree with you, that I've maybe seen in November. But you know what's interesting? Arizona's not too far behind them.
Right.
And I don't know. I think Duke is third, but you cannot match Michigan's size. And there's only one team on Michigan's schedule, I think, that can still beat them, and that's Michigan. I mean, if somehow, but Dusty May's not going to let that happen. If they get to thinking they're all that in a bag of chips and they start to relax and they take some people lightly, and then all of a sudden agents and parents start getting to the kids and saying, God, why aren't you shooting the ball more? You need to be doing this. And your stock is all of a sudden, you're not on the draft boards. And if that other stuff gets into that locker room, guess what? Dusty May's not going to let that stuff get in that locker room. He's going to keep them hungry and humble. Purdue next. Great experience, great coaching. They're never going to beat themselves. Early in the year when they went down to Kentucky and lost to a really not very good Kentucky team, and they were so non-athletic, I was with you going, Houston, we might have a problem. But Painter's too good a coach. They're too experienced. They're too tough. They believe in that system enough. And they've been tested. They've not passed on anybody. So when they get into the Big Ten, they're going to, with the exception of matching up against Michigan, they're going to have a talent advantage. I think every night, as good as a few other team is. Tom Izzo, coach, he's not getting older. He's getting better. This is crazy. Dan, his team last year that we played in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four, that was just an okay Tom Izzo team. I mean, he had one pro that should have stayed in college, and the rest of them. And like right now, he does as good a job as anybody putting pieces together. And I honestly think he's gotten better. And I know he's going to leave the game at some point. Those would be your top 3 teams. And Illinois maybe next, Dan, even though you know what? I'm going to go Nebraska. I got to go Nebraska.
Yeah.
I got to go with the mayor. They again, he reminds me of TJ Ossenberg at Iowa State. Even though the mayor played there and you can put it together, their teams play hard. They play together. I'd say Nebraska's fun to watch offensively because of stuff they run. And by the way, guys, folks that are listening, there is a difference, Like there's a difference on the sideline. Billy Donovan told me this, Dan. He said, look, we can all coach defense. We can all kitchen play hard, some better than others. The difference between your Hall of Fame great coaches and the other guys, who can teach offense, who can get their teams to run great stuff that's hard to guard. Sometimes I watch basketball and it's so much just one-on-one attacking closeouts. It's like, my goodness, where's the cutting? Where's the screening? Where's the floor? Where are the multiple actions that are built upon each other where you're running about 10 seconds of what looks like real important offense? And all it is to set up what's at the end. And you know what I'm talking about.
I want to go back to something you said because it's a big statement. There has not been, and I am suggesting that Michigan could go undefeated. It hadn't been an undefeated team since '76. There have been a lot of teams that came really, really, really close. But you said right now, the only one team that can beat Michigan is Michigan. That's a monster statement because normally it's, look, you're going to lose a couple games during the season, and how you come back from those losses and all that coach stuff. But it's amazing what Dusty's done here in 2 years because he did take over a mess from Juwan Howard, however you want to slice it. Second year, you're telling me, and I agree totally with you, they're by far the best team, and only they can derail themselves. Bruce, that's amazing what you just said.
Yeah, and the thing about it is now the way games changed a little bit, you got to be a general manager and a coach. And so you got to build rosters. You have to have enough size, enough toughness. You have to have enough talent. You have to have enough shooting. You have to have guys that can break you down off the bounce. You need pieces, and you need to do a great job of evaluating. Unfortunately, a lot of times in recruiting, it comes down, it's so transactional. Who can you afford? What's your budget? But I don't think there's ever been a greater premium placed now on the ability to evaluate talent because the portal is available to everybody. And these kids are traveling coast to coast, and international players are in play right now. And if you got a good staff that right now is involved in this film study and evaluating, what's out there. The great challenge is this: because rosters flip over so much, you don't know what you need until you know what you need, and that's when everybody's leaving or coming or going. That's the problem. And then you get down the road and you think, okay, I'm going to recruit all these great players. I'm going to recruit all this great talent because everybody else wants them, and that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to understand your roster, understand what your needs, and then go out there and get it.
Hey, you've got a couple games. What Rick Pitino's deal at St. John's? You're going to be there. You're going to be broadcasting Kentucky, St. John's. How good is St. John's? What do you think? I mean, it's been a long time since Rick left Kentucky. What do you think this game means to him? Nice of Kentucky to play St. John's, no? Or maybe it's nice of St. John's to play Kentucky. I don't know, but I think it's a great game for college hoops.
Yeah, I think Mark. First of all, I'm a Mark Pope fan. Let me just go on record as saying I'm a Pope fan. He's one of the good guys, and I've been critical on air with TNT, questioning how hard they're playing, whether or not they're in front of the jersey, the back of the jersey, whether they're lacking some toughness. And so if I'm saying some things in this chair, those are the same things Mark Pope is saying inside that locker room. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to hear it from somebody else, and you think you're offering criticism. It's not so much criticism. It's fact right now. It's the truth. And I think he can get. I do. I think he can get it turned around. I'm not sold on St. John's yet. Turner has got the Big East. I'm sold on UConn, all in on UConn. But St. John's, they don't have a point guard. They don't shoot it great, and they don't have the athletes on the perimeter like they used to be as great a defensive team. Here's the other thing, Dan, that I thought about the other day. When we talk about defense, everybody wants to talk about first shot defense. Second shot defenses is important, and that is simply this. You work so hard to get a stop or get a team to take a bad shot. If you don't have the athletes or the toughness to go end the possession with a 50-50 ball, it doesn't matter how good a first shot defense you played. And so getting guys, like he brought a bunch of guys in that could shoot the ball at St. John's, but those guys didn't come to St. John's to go get a rebound. Well, guess what? Not rebounding the ball. They're not any possessions, and they're not the dominant defensive team they weren't a year ago. There's something about dogs. You don't need a bunch of pit bulls, but you got to have a couple of them. And I don't know whether or not St. John's is as tough as their coach. We're going to find out against Kentucky. And as far as Kentucky is concerned, good for the Kentucky scheduling St. John's. Look, St. John's needs to give way more than Kentucky. And the fact that Kentucky is now playing Indiana again, the fact that they're playing Louisville again, that's good. That's great for college basketball and good for the blue blood Kentucky taking on all comers.
Is it more difficult for Kentucky now? Like, I always thought about this, Bruce. You're one of the great talent evaluators ever, in my opinion. You and John Beeline. Like, I've said that many times, many different places. But Kentucky, there was a time, for whatever the reason, whatever you want to delve into, they had the pick of the litter. They would go out and get, Mr. Basketball from Indiana. Is it far more difficult now, the way the landscape of college basketball has changed, where transactional, as you call it, makes it, maybe a more level playing field? I'm not saying Kentucky cheated. I'm not. Well, maybe I am. I don't know. What the hell? But I had some friends that went on visits to Kentucky, and, it wasn't the same visit as Indiana. Yeah. Does that make it a little more difficult for Kentucky?
Of course it does.
Of course. Yeah, good.
Of course it does. Of course it does. We all know that it does. NIL's been around for a long time. Pay-to-play's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But listen, back in the day, like, it was just different, though, in the sense that, if coaches or high school coaches or college coaches were helping out a family, there was a time when it really wasn't to get the kid to come play. I mean, sometimes the kid was from real poverty and family had some real challenges, and it was sort of the American way in some ways. Don't take me wrong on that. But now, what are kids looking for? What are agents looking for? What are parents looking for? In the sense that going to a place like Kentucky, unbelievable culture, unbelievable history, great coaching, the finest facilities, one of the greatest fan bases in the history of the world, love their basketball, and all the guys going to the NBA. I mean, that's the stuff that recruiting used to be all about. I mean, look, it's the same thing true of IU. They've lost some of that, but that's why kids went to IU, the fan base, Assembly Hall, the schedule. Back in the day when only NBC and Al McGuire and Dick Enberg were college basketball, the only way you get seen is to go. Back in the day when there were these tournaments, it was only a classic in Madison Square Garden. It was Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky, India. Now it's available to everybody, okay? And as long as you have the money, you can compete. Michigan has proven that. Look, Kentucky's gotten a hard time for their roster at $20 million plus. Michigan invested in that roster too now. Okay, that roster is probably almost as much as Kentucky's. And you know what? Good for them. A year ago when Ohio State won the national championship in football, they were 2 steps ahead of everybody else. They invested in that roster. They won themselves a natty. They may win another one with the highest paid. So as long as you are going, look at Texas Tech, look at BYU, look at some of the teams that have sort of come out of nowhere and all of a sudden they're there. It's because they've made a commitment to NIL. And so, yes, your Kentucky's and all that stuff doesn't matter. Look at Clemson football. Look at Alabama football, and Nick Saban kind of walks away from it. That stuff doesn't play like it used to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I never would have no kid would have ever from Indiana, Mr. Basketball, like the Mullins kid, go out to UConn. No, I mean, he would maybe he went to Ohio State or maybe went to, wherever, but the game has changed. I do think this, Auburn basketball has a new coach. And the previous coach was really good, got him to Final Fours, elevated Auburn basketball. I would say that the Auburn basketball coach is currently sitting in the toughest seat, regardless of NIL, in the country. I would. We had the Auburn coach on here. He spoke very highly of the previous coach, but he seems to have a real confidence about him. What's your evaluation on the new guy at Auburn?
So good. That's so good, Dan. Hey, man, I bet you when you had Pearl on, you guys weren't solving Middle Eastern problems. And
not yet.
He wasn't calling out Obama or the Muslims. I mean, you don't have to worry about that. Like you said, we're not going to make any headlines with CNN today. I am so proud of Steven. Just like, you know what it's like. Sitting there, Dad, you know what it's like. You know the feeling. I'm not in control anymore. I'm not in charge. I'm not even having influence. But Steven's owned it. He just flat out owned it. And he sat, you sat next to Bob Knight. No, I'm not Bob Knight. You sat next to a great coach. I sat next to Dr. Tom Davis. Why was I successful? I sat next to a great coach and a day teacher for all those years. I did what he did on the court because it's what I knew, and that's what Steven and that staff is doing. But Steven is Steven. I'm BP. We're different, and I love the fact that he's being his own man. But he does have you have to have a little swagger. Look at the coaches he's got. I tweeted out after he beat Pitino. Coach Steven Pearl's already done something that his dad couldn't do,
right?
And that's beat the Hall of Famer Rick Pitino. And so, I'm really proud of him. And he's earned it. The biggest thing about everything there, Dan, is I left at a time when the whole staff could stay in place.
Yeah.
In the sense that if I leave at the end of a year, you know what? It's a top 10, top 25 program. Maybe the AD has got to do a national search. It's his responsibility to probably do that. And so I want to give John Cohen, our athletic director, credit for counseling me through the situation, saying, look, I want you to coach for 5 more years. And you can be done anytime you want to be done. But if you did be done at this time of the year, we probably would have to keep the staff together. And so knowing that going in, it wasn't just about Steven getting the job. I had 7 or 8 assistant coaches, my strength coach, my trainer. We'd all been together. They might have had all lost their jobs. And why would you want to do that after 8 or 9 years of the best basketball in the history of Auburn? And so it's been a great transition. And I'm happy for him.
You know what?
He did a great job.
I said this, people were critical, and I asked Steven about it. I stayed at Indiana because Knight told me he was going to do the same thing. He goes, I'm going to leave right before the year. You're going to be the head coach, and whether you're interim or not, how you do is how you do. So I totally understand that. I think it was an absolute great move because people forget there's a human element to this. You mentioned the strength coach. There's assistant coaches. There's assistant coaches' wives. There's assistant coaches' kids. And now everybody, you leave after the season and people don't, I've talked about this. People got to scramble. Hey, I got to go to the NCAA Final Four and pass out resumes. I got to get a job. Now that was all. People don't really get that. By the way, Auburn, Purdue this weekend. Give me your thoughts.
Well, one of the things I had tweeted out this week as a proud dad is over the last 30 years, I think, in college basketball, there have only been 2 coaches who for the first 7 weeks of their career were ranked in the top 25. And those 2 coaches are John Shire for 9 weeks at Duke, his first year, and Steven Pearl, 7 weeks in his first year. I mean, that's pretty significant. Now, they could drop out if they don't beat or be right there with Purdue on Saturday. But I'd say Steven's off to a great start. The only losses for Auburn, Houston, Michigan, and Arizona. That's the only teams they've lost to. And so he's beaten everybody else. Got a great win against Oregon, St. John's, NC State. So they're obviously right there. We bitch slapped Purdue last year in Birmingham. And Matt couldn't have been more gracious. First of all, setting the game up with Auburn, I was so grateful because they were coming off the Final Four. He didn't have to do that. And Matt, he's such a consummate pro. He said to me, and he said, BP, we needed that. He said, my guys needed to see right now in December what a Final Four team looks like. And now we know what we got to do, okay? Like, he was such a professional. I probably should have said bitch slap because that's not being professional, because now I'm an entertainer. I'm bulletin board. But great respect for Matt. I'd say Purdue gets the advantage. Obviously, they got the experience in the backcourt. I think their size and their physicality on the inside will be a difference in the matchup against Auburn. Auburn's got a really nice young roster. And remember back in the day, we used to love, oh my God, we got some terrific some of Auburn's best players are freshmen and sophomores. Freshmen and sophomores have a hard time winning against grown men. And so that will be the challenge. Keyshawn Hall for Auburn and Todd Pettifer weren't the price of admission. Elijah Freeman is a Division II player from a year ago that will be in the NBA in another. I think he's got another year in college. But that's so fun to watch a kid come from D2 and grow and grow. Auburn has got pieces. They got talent. They got to make shots. And they did a great job of guarding Purdue in the last game. Mike Burgermaster's got the scout, and they'll have him prepared. But there's a lot of Purdue kids that came back that went home for Christmas last year, pissed off because of the way Auburn beat them. And this is going to be a little bit of a revenge factor for Purdue.
Hey, last thing before I let you go, I always thought it was, fun to play, more killing me to coach, particularly when you lost as a head coach, but mentally exhausting watching my son play in high school and college, like crucifyingly exhausting, sitting there, not showing any emotion, but just like dying with every pass when he got the opportunity to play. How is it? I've not had this. Hope I do at some point. How is it as a dad watching your son coach?
You got to remove yourself. You got to separate it. I think it was harder watching him play baseball and pitch when he was a little leaguer, or watching him play basketball when he was a little younger. Don't forget, I coached him at Tennessee, so I've already had to make that transition.
Yeah,
I flat out treated him like any other player. In fact, he thinks I treated him worse because he never got a call in practice. And he always had to come off the bench. He had a great junior year for Tennessee. He was my sixth man. He had a great year. And what did Dad do to reward him for his senior year? Brought in Tobias Harris, the best player I ever recruited and coached at Tennessee. Like, thanks, Dad. Here. That's why. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. Let's see. It's great, but you've got to separate, Dan. You got to treat him as the new coach wherever he's at. He's the new coach at Tennessee, and he's prepared. He's doing a heck of a job. He's owning his locker room. And yes, I am rooting for him like nobody else, but I'm not. I'm trying not to be his dad. I'm trying to be his dad, but not his coach anymore. I'm not his coach anymore. I'm his dad, and I'm there to support him. We talk a lot, and if he's got a question, he'll call me, and we talk. But he has owned it, and he's prepared. Hiring from within. Dan, think about this. How many great businesses, all you folks that are in business right now, and you're in business right now, take care of the people that are busting their ass for you every single day. I know we're not perfect. They're not all perfect, but hire from within. Train. These are your people. You've taught them your culture. Unless your culture stinks, then you need to go get somebody from the outside and bring somebody else in to clean your shit up. But we don't need that at Auburn. And so many times we let people go. We don't take advantage. We don't pay them. We don't show them we appreciate them. Then we go out there and recruit. We have to pay more to get them, and they're not as good as what we had. So hire from within. That's my closing thoughts today.
Now, I'm going to give you one more opportunity. You're doing the game, right?
I am.
So I was doing Andrew's game against Ohio State. He's playing. He threw the ball to the band. He throws the ball to the band, and Tirico looks at me. I go, hey, look, I'm just going to tell you, if he were living at home, he'd be sleeping in the garage on that pass. I don't know what the hell I got mothers sending me emails. I can't believe you said that about your son. I go, lady, it's a joke. No, I can't believe it. Even, people get really, you can't win broadcasting anything with your son. Let me just tell you that. You cannot win either way.
You're right. But Dan, here's the deal. You coached him hard. You were coached hard. The deal is you can coach him as hard as you love him.
Yeah.
Who do you love more than anybody?
Yeah.
You love your kid. You love your dad. Why could your dad say things to you that nobody else on earth could say? And you might say, yes, sir, or nod your head. You'd be respectful. You wouldn't talk back to him. It's because you knew he loved you. And so coaches most coaches, I think, that coach your kids hard because they love them. They really care about them. And so that's where it is. And, Andrew's going to be phenomenal.
I would love for you to say.
He's been a survivor. Andrew's been a survivor.
Yeah. I would love for you to say when on a bad call, I don't understand why he did that. I got to tell you, the previous coach would have never done that. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Who's his dad? Who's his damn dad?
Who's
what are we doing?
I like to tell people, now, Steven, as you know, he's 6'6", you know, 240 built like, that, a metrosexual flat belly. He still calls me daddy, okay? He still calls, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
Hey, man, good luck. I can't wait to watch. It's going to be fun, Coach. Thanks for coming on, man.
Okay.
Great stuff.
All right, brother. All right, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Yeah.
Okay.
There he goes. Hey,
Hey,
sorry
crazy
about
nights.
this. Sorry, New York Times. Sorry about this, Fox News. We just talked ball. I know I got guys probably in my ear saying, oh, we just talk. Once in a while, you get the smartest man in basketball on your show, and you just talk ball. There you go. All right. Thanks to Bruce Pearl. That'd be great, though, wouldn't it? Like, hey, what the hell he's doing out there? I said that about Andrew, and honest to God, people lost their mind. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget tonight, 6 o'clock, myself, Sean, we will be having a live chat, and our live chats range from raunchy to, well, the dating life of our friend Sean. It's always interesting. I purposely don't ask him until we get on the air. I don't know if he's been on Bumble or Twitter, or I don't know where the hell the dating apps are. But based on my behavior the last few days, laying around the house, I may have to find one anyway. 6 o'clock, all you got to do is go right there. YouTube.com/@don't@me with Dan Dakich. Woke-a-dope me, baby. Woke-a-dope me. Give it to me, baby. Boy. Look, you don't like the USA? Get the hell out. I think we should change the Statue of Liberty and make her point out. Get, gone, go. You're mad? Corner. You're really mad? You hate the United States? Boat, out, gone. Plane, out, gone. Instead of bringing in, like the Biden administration did, a bunch of people that hate our country, how about we remove people that hate our country? They go. Next. Hey, Dad, what's an extreme MAGA Republican? Son, it's someone that loves America and hates communism. There you go. You don't even have to put in the hates communism. You just got to put in that loves America. Why is that so extreme? Can somebody explain it to me? Loving our country should be the norm. I mean, what's not to love? I get it. I got to say it. It's not perfect. But what the hell is not to love? You tell me. Next. Child, I'm not confused about my gender in any way. Public school teacher. You will be. You will be. I never will, for the life of me. Honestly, I will never understand I'm going to say the social attachment to being a transgender. Those Hollywood folks that have 3 transgender kids. I mean, what are we doing? Like, what's the social attachment to it? What's the cult? Why? Why do we have those things? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, not even a little bit. What makes that cool? I mean, I've said this before. I'll say this again. If you're offended by that statement, suck it. How about we just let kids be kids? If they get to 20 years old and they decide they want to, hey, that's on you, but not kids. Last thing. You know, I'm excited and sad at the same time. This is a big weekend of college basketball. We mentioned Purdue taking on Auburn. We mentioned St. John's taking on Kentucky. But I've learned this over the course of my time, mostly here over the last 3 or 4 years. College basketball, sadly, very sadly, has become either a betting sport or a 1-month sport. You know, it's interesting. Indiana football has really made Indiana basketball the side chick. And that's weird. That's rare. It would be the same thing in Kentucky. You know, Indiana and Kentucky are considered maybe the 2 most passionate fan bases historically. Obviously, Michigan State, UConn, those kind of things are great. But historically, those 2 fan bases, Indiana and Kentucky, have been among, if not the best, the most fervent, the most passionate. Well, I got to tell you, the whole thing has changed here in the great state of Indiana because of football, and it changed like that. You know, our nation isn't football. If it were, then things like the UFL, the those kind of leagues, spring leagues, would take off. They don't. But we do love the passion, the pageantry, the excitement of college football. And we do love Sundays with the NFL more than any. And nowhere is it seen more than here in Indiana. I swear to you, in our state, Indiana Hoosier basketball is a side chick to the main chick, which is Signetti and Indiana football. And I swear to God, if Kentucky would reach the levels of an Indiana right now in football, it would be the same thing. It's amazing. If you want to know the power of college football, you're seeing it here in my state. Man, I never thought I would see it. Not necessarily, well, I never thought I would see the success of Indiana football, but I never thought anything, even Peyton Manning being here and the Colts on those amazing runs, Indiana basketball was never the side chick. They are now. College football starts this weekend, and frankly, I can't wait, no matter what the basketball schedule is. See you tonight